part of our international extension and new issue department. The Jazz Image from Minnesota Public Radio here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, calling Toronto and Rob McConnell. That's his very latest work in his Tentet, paying tribute to a broadcaster from the Canadian area, particularly the Toronto area, a man by the name of Ted O'Reilly. We're going to find out more about him. But first, Rob, welcome into Minnesota Public Radio. It's good to have you there.
Well, thank you very much, Leigh. Nice to be talking with you in St. Paul.
And one of these days, we've got to get you here to just expose us to all that you like about American and global jazz.
Well, I'd really love to. It just seems to be very hard. And I'm not really... I am talking to you, and you'll reach some listeners, but it just seems the jazz life and selling a jazz band with 10 people in it to go on the road somewhere seems to be quite difficult. I used to find it very difficult with the Boss Brass, which was 20 people, and I'm now faced with approximately the same thing with 10. It doesn't seem to be getting any better, that's for sure.
Well, that's not very encouraging. I wish I could beat the drum and all of that.
Well, you are beating the drum already.
Well, at any rate, you have put together multitudes of projects for recordings, and this one showcases your Tentet and a very special tribute to a broadcaster in your part of the world, Ted O'Reilly. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, Ted was kind of the voice of jazz in Toronto and like Ontario, I guess our province, our state. You can get him on cable here, like through a television cable company. So you didn't have to be right in Toronto, but and it was the Ryerson College station to begin with. It's now bigger than that, but so Ted was on the air for 37 years, which is a good run, and he was on the air about 24 hours a week and did live broadcasts from, 4 or 5 clubs in Toronto, and there was a concert every month that the station CJRT, at the time it's Jazz 91 now it's called. But anyway, he was a very vocal and big presence if you wanted to listen to jazz on the radio. And Ted conducted interviews every week, and some of them were absolutely, well, all of them were marvelous, but some of them were just timeless in their quality, having, jazz musicians that are now gone talking informally with Ted with no commercials, and, a kind of like a public radio station, like no commercials at all, and some of his interviews on Saturday mornings, which he did during the week and taped, were an hour, and so they weren't just like sound bites. They were really in depth and marvelous. He's retired now from that business, but he's not an old man. He's in his early 60s. He's not nearly as old as me.
Or I, sir. Well, it sounds as if he really, in those interviews, documented very important historic oral history.
Yes, he did. I don't know whether they'll... the way things go, I don't know that you or I will be around, but they may come out, as documents of history, because they certainly were of, the 30 some years that he was on the air. He interviewed just about everybody that was anybody in jazz, and got some amazing insights into the people, and very informal, and he asked smart questions, and he's a smart guy, and would let people talk, including myself from time to time, but that isn't important.
Well, it is for us, because we just want to share with our audience the spirit of jazz from Canada as you have observed it, and we might talk about that a little bit now. Minnesota Public Radio and the Jazz Image touching down and reviewing Rob McConnell, trombonist, composer, and arranger. And we didn't mention that opening track that blew your way was a piece of musical theater music, If I Were a Bell, and it seemed to, from Rob's point of view, be very important for a big band, a Tentet. You might tell us a little bit about this new project, the Tentet. Thanks, Ted O'Reilly.
Well, the Tentet, Leigh, started in, our first gig was in 1998, and I saw the handwriting on the wall and vis-a-vis the death of a big band, or like, can you work? I mean, if you're having anything that you're doing, if you never do any jobs, well, then you really don't have a big band if the band never works. And that was becoming the case. And so the Tentet, I kind of had to reinvent myself and decide what I wanted to do. And the reason I started, in music and what I wanted to do. And I'm a great believer in the American songbook and the great era of American songwriting. And that's the music I like the most and am best at interpreting. And the Tentet provided me with a reason to continue that love affair with that music. And there's seven horns, which provides plenty of writing scope for me. And it's turned out to be a very good choice as far as I'm concerned, because the Tentet is working, if not regularly, certainly a heck of a lot more than the big band did. And so we may, this coming season, starting last September, we may end up working maybe 30 or 35 times, which is pretty good. And,
in 1 year?
Yes, in a season, like, say, from September to May or something. Although we do, this last summer, we did work quite a bit in the summer. So festivals, and we have a regular once-a-year club date at a club called the Top of the Senator in Toronto, which is a very active jazz club. So we play 6 nights there, and then another very active place in Toronto is a place called the Rex that used to be a hotel. So we play there a couple of times a year. So far, for 2 nights at a time. So we kind of put that between our annual club dates at the Senator. So we will be playing the Rex in January, and then the Senator, January for a couple of nights, the Senator for 6 nights in April, and a new CD. And we have 2 CDs on the market now. We're recording for Just in Time of Montreal.
Canadian label?
A Canadian label, yes, and are pleased to be recording for them. And so things are going, if not fantastically well, at least well. I'm quite happy, and we've just kind of... I've just started writing a new CD that will be the Rob McConnell Tentet play new arrangements of old songs, or something like that. Anyway, all the songs are going to be from the 1920s. And I've got a couple done.
Will there be any New Orleans influence there?
Probably not much New Orleans, no. Mostly... I've done with a song in my heart, and "Lover Come Back to Me" so far, and boy, the bank of songs from the 20s, which my youngest daughter reminded me. She says, "Well, Dad, that was referred to as the Jazz Age," which I had forgotten. There's just like there's hundreds of titles, material, to draw on, and so it's really easy. And then that gives us kind of a yearly way to go, because next year we can do the 30s and 40s, and until all those songs are gone, which I might be gone by then.
I'm talking with Rob McConnell, and he represents a Tentet in Canada. He's also have that magnificent 20-piece band, and he records in the Just in Time catalog. And we just might touch on the new issue that we're listening to, which is called, very simply, Thank You, Ted, dedicated Ted O'Reilly, a broadcaster at CJRT-FM for over 30 years, and a specialist in jazz with his program, The Jazz Scene. Now, your scene includes some... You chose the instrumentation for this Tentet, and you had to reduce it to 20. And you might just...
From 20.
From 20 to 10.
To 10.
So what sort of a compromise did you have to make?
Well, as it turns out, it wasn't a compromise at all, Leigh. It was kind of of course, I wanted to remain a writer and have that scope in front of me, like a band leader, and I wanted to play more, because in the big band I hardly played at all. I mean, every once in a while I'd have to play a solo, and I'd look at my horn and say, "Gee, I haven't played this tonight," and that was a continuing exasperation over the 32 years of the Boss Brass. So I thought, well, I would like to end up playing more. So there's 2 trombones, and I'm, the second trombone, another trombone player, and myself. And there's 2 trumpets, and there's 3 saxophones, an alto, and 2 tenors. And they don't play in my band anyway. They all play flutes and clarinets and everything. But in my band, there's no doubles. It's just the sound of the band is 1 alto sax and 2 tenors. So I've kind of got the bottom chair baritone saxophone, maybe, or not bass trombone, but at least the bottom voice, and which I like a lot, and I'm quite good at, and it seems a nice spot for me, and I play solos when I feel like it, and we just have an absolute stellar front line of Canadian musicians that is really an all-star Canadian band, really. Mike Murley and Alex Dean and P.J. Perry is from Edmonton. He plays with us. The front line, Guido Basso from the Boss Brass, a lot of them played in the Boss Brass at different times, and Terry Clark is the drummer, and it's just really a good band of cats that I don't have to explain anything to any of them at any time. They just look after me, and I just love it. It's just really more fun than I've had in a long time.
Well, you certainly have fired our spirit and taste for what you do, all the way from Boss Brass to your Tentet.
Oh, and thank you.
Just to quote somebody who said your Tentet has that fluid ensemble sound of the Miles Davis, Gil Evans birth of the cool band with a Count Basie swinging drive and dynamic bop improvisation overlay or underlay.
Well, whoever said that is a friend of mine. I don't know who you're quoting, but anyway.
I don't either. And anyway, does that describe it in a way?
Well, I mean, it's a very pleasant description, yes, and certainly if whoever said that has described exactly what I'd be after, that is certainly pleasant for me to hear, and exactly what I would like to do. A combination of those things: the Miles Nanette band and Count Basie and fun, and we have our serious moments, but it's mostly just really a fun band that swings like hell, and like it's really fun to play, and the joy level of this band is very high in person, and the people, I must say, everywhere we've played really respond to that. I mean, it's no surprise to me that they respond to it, but they do really well, and we have a happy band and a happy audience. Well, all the time, actually.
Well, thank you for warming up our Saturday night here in the Land of Lakes country in Minnesota, and with North and South Dakota, Iowa, a slice of the province of Ontario,
Yes,
and
really.
the grass, the grass and the prairies and snow accumulating in some of our northern areas.
Right,
And
we got snow here.
well, winter is coming in, isn't it?
Oh, sure, but it's nice.
Oh, that's good. Rob McConnell, thank you very much. It's good to make your acquaintance. And
Hey, thank you very much for thinking of me, and hello to all your listeners out there. I hope they enjoy the Tentet and enjoy your program. Thank you for keeping the light burning.
you too. You keep that light and flame burning as you spill out with your band right here and now.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, and thank you.